Changing the trail of exploring RC crawling? Well, guess what? RC Quality Coffee brings you morning wisdom, the latest rig tunings, and pro tips that you'll need. So call out of bed and stick around.
Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're joined with a very special guest, Richard, all the way from Hawaii. Introduce yourself, Richard.
What's up? Aloha.
What's up, guys?
We definitely want to get a backstory on how you got into RCs, what brought you into this, and how the whole lifestyle is in Hawaii. I'm curious more than anything about that. So definitely.
Sounds good.
I mean, we've seen pictures and videos of you crawling, and it's beautiful, man.
No,
That's
yeah.
like goals, dude. That's definitely life goals there.
We're definitely spoiled here all year round. Nice weather. Don't have to worry about super hot heat and freezing cold. So it was funny, Eric talking about temperature. I'm like, temperature? It's pretty much the same all year round.
Oh, man.
So because you guys have the
Eric could get
tires like,
technical on you. Yeah.
Predator's better for cold weather than this. I was like, I guess we don't really have to worry about that here. Actually, my initial start to RC, I was about 13 years old. And they used to have the hobby magazines. So I'm 53 now. So this is like almost 40 years ago, right? So it was 40 years ago. Holy crap. Time flies. So 40 years ago, it was the hobby magazines with RC cars. And they had this one that I saw. It was a ready to run. It was called the Hunter. I don't know if you remember that one. It was the same time that the Frog came out, Tamiya Frog. And anyway, so I got the Hunter. It was like a solid plastic chassis. It was just an off-road buggy, 2-wheel drive. And it was pretty much all put together. And that was really fun. I beat the heck out of that. And then my mom then bought me for Christmas, the first RC10 with the gold anodized chassis. And that one came in a million pieces. Like nothing was put together. You had to put literally everything together and solder the ESC and all of that. And so that was my real first experience, I guess, building a car. And it was really fun. So my friend had the Frog. My other friend had an RC10 as well. And they had money to buy all the fiberglass chassis or whatever it was, instead of the anodized and the electronic ESC then, and me, I had to wing it. So to make my chassis lighter, I drilled a whole bunch of holes, that kind of thing. So, but they used to have a dirt track out here, and on a Sunday they would race. And back then you had the different crystals, so everybody had to make sure you had all the crystal packs, and that's how you determine the signal. So everybody had to have a different crystal that you put in the controller. That's all it was. Back in the day.
Yeah, when I got into it,
I think you can only race, I don't know how many, 10 cars at a time, or there was a max because of that crystals, So I had a few different sets of crystals, and everybody had to check what everybody else had so they wouldn't, overlap. But this is a long time ago.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't even know what happened to that RC10. I kind of got out of it. And then fast forward to about 2 years ago. So it was a couple of Christmases ago. My son, who's now 16, I wanted something for us to do for fun that wasn't him sitting in front of a computer playing on his phone. And I saw an advertisement for the FCX24, so the, what do they call it? Power wagon. And it has 2-speed, so it can crawl, it can race around. I was like, oh, that's perfect. It was like $150 for one. It comes with a battery ready to run. So I was like, oh, perfect. It's only $150. I'll buy one for each of us. We can race around and play around. So
bad idea.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the end. So we take it out, and then unfortunately and unfortunately, they have all these videos with like Cape Crawlers and all these other guys that have testing the upgrade parts. And so we tested it on a lot of some of these lines here, and it didn't do very well with the vertical. So then I was like, okay, what do we need? Maybe heavier wheels, longer this. I quickly spent over $300 each on each of those rigs. Doing my best to make it perform best.
Snowballs.
Yeah, and then there was a competition here for the 24s. I actually came in second, which was good. My son, he came in second on the other class. So we ran it class 2 and class 3. Class 3, we just took off the bodies and ran it without the body. So he took second in the class 3. I took second in the class 2. I lost to him in the class 3, which he loves, but I took him out in the class 2, which he wasn't happy about. So, but
Yeah.
but then we saw a bunch of these other SCX 24s that were outperforming our rigs. And we went to a couple. So they had a couple of comps, and I was like, okay, I got to look into this. And one of the internet guys, they were promoting Hard Park. So I got introduced to Hard Park. So that was my first build,
yeah.
and they're very helpful. I was messaging them like, what parts do I need, this and that, because I never built one. And so I probably spent several hundred on that. And then I bought another one. I spent about $1,000 on that. So it just snowballed. And everything I build, it's got to be 2, right? So one for my son, one for me. And
I know. Yeah, we know that.
So this
We
wall
both
here,
have the same issue.
Yeah, so I started with the 24s, and we're in it for about a year. And at one point, they were all 4-wheel steer, all class 3, So, and then I wanted to build a class 2, so I had to go backwards. And but actually, it's missing a few that I'm swapping, and I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have another 6 chassis and parts sitting in boxes that are waiting for me for the 24s. So,
man, okay, so
yeah,
you're
it's
still building.
crazy.
You're still building the fleet.
Yeah, so it's been fun. And Hard Park, they're good rigs, very high quality. But I was having a very hard time, with the performance. And somebody had posted another picture of the Echo chassis by IE Concepts, and I really like. It looks like the Bully too, that shape for the 24. I was like, oh, that's really cool. It was a printed one, and before this, I had met Kyle from Profit Designs, and I wanted sliders for the FCX 24, and nobody had made these sliders, right? And so he had some designed, and he's like $5. I'm like, $5? That seems too cheap, So I paid him 10, just to be nice. And he sent me 2 sets. I'm like, okay, thanks. And then from there, I was like, hey, can you make this? And he was very quick at trying to design things. And, so that's how that relationship built. And then when I seen the IE Concepts, I asked if he could print it for me. But it was a really 2-piece. And so I wanted 1 piece. And this guy named Peter, who's in the UK, he had made one with an 18-degree skid for the Echo.
Damn, 18 degrees.
So, so the skid is a very extreme skid, where the original is flatter. So this was the original, which is, it's a flatter skid. And it's still, did way better than my Hard Parks and everything. But I wanted, I saw Peter's one, and so I asked if he could, print it and do different. But so he ended up contacting Ian from IE Concepts, and they collaborated. And so they actually designed a single rail for the Echo because I'm a pain in the butt. And then they, he got it made in carbon, and it's doing the popularity has really grown. And then they collaborated on a couple more chassis. So, that's how that's been growing. But, that's kind of got me hooked with, okay, how can I make it do more vertical? And I like the, more skid angle for this, and 4-wheel steer. And he just came out with a carrier bearing for them,
for the
recently.
24?
So yeah, so this one actually has the carrier bearing in it. So I don't know if you can see the carrier there.
Oh, wow.
And so you can see that how much higher it goes, right? On the rear.
What's the wheelbase on that?
167 millimeters. So it's long, but not too crazy. I mean, well, I guess compared to some of these others, some of the other builds are about 155, so maybe 10, 12 millimeters longer. So I don't think you can go much shorter with the carrier because the drive shafts with the dropout and everything. But so we're in it from December and maybe till middle of the year, somewhere there. The local guys here, they were saying, hey, you got to get 110s. So they would bring their 24s out, but they'd have their 110s too. And they said, you should pick up 110. I'm like, God, it's got to be more expensive. And they lied to me. They said, no, it's about the same price. It's really not. Well, it can be if you get the budget parts, but I'm dumb and I want to buy all the expensive stuff. So it's double the price pretty much, right? So, and then I got to build 2. So I was, searching on the internet, and it was between the poised. I really liked that skid angle. That looked pretty killer. There was this EXO, I forget what it's called, Eiger, but in Hawaii, the chassis rails for our class 3, the chassis rails has to be at least the length of the wheelbase. So the Eiger didn't work, the poise didn't work. I didn't know the poise didn't work at the time. And there was one more, and then I saw Greg's video of him doing that rock hang. That big rock, his famous rock that he was doing, the one wheel hang, walking around and going up. I was like, what is this? And so that's how I got introduced to the pork belly, and that's what pretty much sold me. So two things I liked about it. I liked that it did that amazing hanger, which I'm sure others can, but that was very impressive. But I like the colors of the rails and stuff, that you could pick. So when I Googled, I looked it up, I was like, there's all these colors. I always like doing different things too. I don't like to follow the crowd with anything, so I always like to be different. And so I like the fact that nobody really, it wasn't really well known, in Hawaii, or, it's different. I like the idea of the chassis flex. There was a lot of things I liked about it, so, and the main thing I liked was the colors, to be honest. I liked that you could pick the colors. So I was messaging with Eric, over a couple of weeks, like, okay, what do I need? I don't even know what I need. I figured it's very different than the 24. So I'm messaging with him, and then all of a sudden he posts that the Joker kit, that pretty much, it came with the servos. I think it was like $600 or so. The rails and everything. I'm like, and I already had another colored rails in my cart. I'm like, forget it. I just told her, okay, I want that one. I want that one.
Yeah.
So I ordered it, and I was trying to figure out what else I needed. It's like, okay, well, you need a motor, you need a pinion for the motor, that time. You need shocks, so other thing, tire, I think it came with the tires, but I think I needed wheels. So anyway, I was trying to figure out what else I needed. And at the same time, I was like, I don't even know how to build it. Like, it's so different. And James, I'm going to mess up his last name, Bernatchez, James. He's on the pork belly. He just rebuilt one. I'm sorry, James. I'm messing up your last name. I'll figure out later. It starts with a B. But anyway, so he was selling his, this one. So his black and yellow one.
I think I know.
Yeah. So
that's
he posted it, and it was like $1,350 or something with the remote. But I was like, hey, I got the remote. So I don't need it. And he's like, okay, how about $1,300? And I'll split the shipping with you, because shipping to Hawaii sucks. I'm like, sold.
Yeah.
But I was messaging him for a little bit, and he shared a couple of lines. This thing hit that was just crazy, the vertical and stuff. And I was like, I hope somebody else buys it before I do. So that's what I was thinking. And so finally I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to buy it. And the main reason I bought it was because the parts that I had was almost identical. Deluxe portal trans, similar motor. I like the wheelbase. And so I figured if I buy it, my son can drive it, and I can use it to copy to build my Joker build. And it was very helpful, because he had the bacon tray and everything. So it really helped me. I could just kind of half disassemble it and figure out where everything went. So that was super helpful. And it was already a killer off the bat. So I don't think I changed anything. Well, I did some changes, but originally I think I maybe moved the shock position a little bit, but that was about it. And then I eventually put on the carrier bearing on the back. So I don't know if you can see that there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what wheelbase are you running on that rig?
So it was So James said it was 13.75, but when I measured it, it was 13.5, which I ended up chopping the nose a little bit. I don't know if you can see that there. I chopped it and put it back together, because it would do fine on the regular rocks where we usually climb, but we had a comp where it was boulders, and there was like the overhang, and the nose was getting caught up. And so we couldn't do it. So
underneath it,
I was going to chop it off. And this was right before the Sporky, or right around there. Oh, no, the Sporky was available. But I was just going to chop it off kind of like the Sporky. But good thing I didn't, because, the rails, they said it's got to be at least the length. So the rail's 13.5. And we're at 13.5. So it was okay. I swear I made the links. So I made the links I make my own links, right? So I made the links. And I thought I did it same length eye to eye, but apparently it's a 1/4 inch longer. So now I'm at 13.75, so I need a rear bumper or something. But we haven't had a comp here. So it's running 13.75. I did it in my Joker build first, and there was, it's like, well, you don't really need it, this and that. But with the 24s, I did notice that for the extreme breakovers, it does help. And I figured I'm making my own links. The parts aren't that expensive. The Profit Designs, I asked them to build me to design one that was just straight across. Actually, I have one here that my friend Ralph bought a PBX, and so he wants me to put the carrier. So it uses this Rhino.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Rhino. This is the
carrier.
V2 one. I get the V2 one because the V2 one has holes in the output shafts. The V1 does not. I wasted about the cost of a brand new one buying drill bits trying to drill it out. I got it done, but I should have just bought a new one in hindsight. But anyway, so he designed this carrier, and you just swap the parts out, the shaft and the bearings, and it works perfect. It's really smooth.
So you're using just the guts of the Rhino.
Just the guts, yeah. So I was like, let's do it, because I felt like I was losing out, because originally the links kind of went from here down, right? So I felt like I was losing out maybe I don't know, an inch or so of clearance, and right now it's pretty much tucks up almost all the way. So
yeah.
Anyway.
And now, when you say you make your own links, do you have like a lathe, or
No.
do you just bend straight links?
Yeah, so it's a threaded rod and stainless steel tubing that's about 1 millimeter thick. So the total diameter of stainless steel tubing is 6 millimeter, and it's 4 millimeter threaded rod. It's really heavy though. So even the stainless steel links, it's skinnier. It's much lighter. So that's the negative thing about it. But I don't have a lathe, and I was really considering getting a lathe, but I got to stop myself sometimes. So, but I started making links for the. I was going to say I started making links for the 24s because when I first got like the Echo and whatnot built, I felt like I wanted a double bend link. And RC Steve, I messaged him, and the communication, was pretty slow at it, but he didn't have double bend links at that time. Nobody did.
Mm.
And so I felt like I was, after the skid, right there. I felt like after the skid, that's hard to see with the body on. I felt like I was losing.
Is that the Batmobile?
The
like
Batmobile,
the old 70s Batmobile? Yeah.
Wow, that's
it was so I really trashed the paint job, but my friend said, make it look like you ran over somebody, blood in the front. So anyway, that was fun.
Dude, that's hilarious.
That's cool.
And then so I felt like, from the skid to here, you kind of lose out. So when it's going over the rocks, like you get that little bit extra clearance, which allows the rear to hit. And so it made a big difference on the 24s. So I felt like it would, and it really did. So I pretty much try to do it with all the 24s, and even with my full rail, so I did a double bend. I don't know if you can kind of see it. Yeah, you see it there.
Yeah.
So it tucks up right after the skid.
How do you like the full rail?
Yeah, this full rail is killing it. It's 12.5 inch, and so I gotta tell you, so okay, I'm all over the place. Sorry, but okay.
No,
so Hawaii guys, right?
There's a lot.
Yeah, Hawaii guys, they like the scale, so the scale look, and there's a handful of guys that have really good performing rigs, and mostly G Speed. And Reapers, that type of thing, and then the Jekyll and Hyde. So, and they weren't really having comps, and then the other guy that was throwing the class 3 comp, it's like head to head. And so let's say I'm going against one of you guys and I go first. I fail twice, but you fail twice. Because I went first, I get to go on. The other guy loses.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, I know they have to do something, but to me, I didn't like that. So I've won just because I went first, and I've lost because I wasn't first. So, but that's how they do it. That's how he runs his comp. And sometimes just luck of the draw. Um,
Right.
so that's why I was like, okay, no one else is throwing comps, even for the 24s. One guy that was doing it unfortunately went to jail. So I don't know why. The other guy kind of got burnt out. So I've been trying to throw comps just to have, something for people to do here.
To do.
So
Right.
anyway, so I did 2 of my comps. I'm calling it Outlaw King just because I'm like, no MOA, no servo winching, to winch up. Outside of that, I don't
Yeah.
care. Anything goes. Whatever you want. Dual motor, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And so I thought there would be a whole bunch of killers coming out. I set the lines with mine and my son's PBXs. And I was like, okay, we can't win, but we want to play. And I figured we set lines that we can hit consistently, not 100% of the time, but we can hit them, thinking that other people would have an easier time. So my first comp, I had 11 lines, 10 gates and a bonus. The winner hit 3 gates out of the 11.
Oh shit! Just 3?
Only 3. And I let them practice. So before, for like almost an hour, I was letting them practice on the lines, right? And
Okay.
their rigs just couldn't do the vertical. They just couldn't do it, right? And so I was shocked.
Oh.
And then so the last comp, we made the lines a little easier. I set the majority of the lines with this 12.5-inch wheelbase. So
Nice.
I made it 7 lines and a bonus, so total of 8 lines. This rig could easily hit 6 of them consistently, like almost 100%, 6 of them. 2 of them, one of them it can't hit at all. It was a crazy where I think you need 4-wheel steer. And the other one, it was difficult, and maybe a third of the time it can hit it. But it's not impossible for a 12.5-inch rig with no rear steer, right? And these other guys, so the winner of the comp only hit 4 lines out of the 8. So and we made it easier, so I thought it was better. And there were a handful of guys who couldn't make it that that could hit all the lines or the majority of the lines, right? But the people that who came, first place was 4 lines, second place was 3, hit 3 or 2 of them actually, so, and people's like, oh, maybe you need a longer wheelbase or this. And I'm like, well, it's a 12.5. And so I posted videos on their page after, like, here's my 12.5-inch rig hitting all these lines.
Rub a little bit of.
So it's been a real killer. I made the front a little shorter. I just did the setup sheet, by the way. I can't remember the exact length, but the front is a little shorter than the rear, just to help clear the skid a little bit. But it's been impressive. The vertical is really good. I just weighed it. I didn't realize, but it's like 69% front weight bias. So which is why the downhill it kind of tends to want to flip. So I'm thinking about. I have aluminum hexes and hubs on the back. So I was thinking about maybe putting I have some brass. Maybe put a little more weight on the back. I don't know.
Just to kind of let that rear sit down.
A little bit, yeah. So even with with the PBXs, they were sitting at about 68 front, 32 back. But since I put in these links, it's now 66-ish front, 34 back. Something,
but did
which
you
is still
see
good.
A better downhilling once you
way better. Links? It's much more planted. So we're having a hard time with some of the downhills, and now you still got to be cautious, but it was much more planted, and it's still the pull-ups is still great. There was one, and my son, 99% of the crazy lines that I video, it's my son's like, I found a line. I'm like, oh God, what now? Like it's just the last one. It was crazy where it went over the rock. It's like past 90 and it pulls up. I'm like, no way. And then I did it, so, and he'll sit there like for a battery, just trying to hit the same line, and so there's a couple of them like that. There was one where it was this mean side hill, we showed Eric, and months. Every time we go, he'll spend maybe half hour trying to hit that darn line. He was getting closer and closer. All of a sudden, he's like, I hit it. I'm like, no way. And he always hits it when I'm not watching. A little suspicious. But anyway, but then he did it again, and then I did it, it's amazing. So, yeah, it's been...
we call that the Ryan effect. So there's a guy out here locally, Brian, who does YouTube, and you can be crawling and you're chilling, you're doing your lines, and you're killing it. And here comes Ryan with his camera, and all of a sudden, and it's constantly with everybody. He comes up and he gets, he's filming you
right in there.
And then it's just like, you can't do the fucking line. It's like you're sitting there struggling the whole time. And you can see like his face just go from like, come on, dude, like what the hell? Like you just did it, like what's going on? And then he'll just get up and leave. And then once he leaves, a couple tries later, you're done, you're doing the line. So it's just weird, but it's funny.
Yeah, I joke with my son. I'm like, how long is it going to take you? Because I don't know if I have enough memory space.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's fun. But it's always when that camera comes up or someone else is watching you where you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Getting nervous in performance.
Yeah, in a sense.
So it's been, the community, the RC community here, it doesn't seem like it's that big, So, there's a bunch of regular guys. They do like the scale. It's more class 1, class 2, those type of things. So I'm trying to build the class 3. There's some guys that are into it, and a couple of the guys that's been around, they're like, guys never even considered these lines. Like they wouldn't even look at that and think they could hit it. So he likes that fact that we're pushing the boundaries of it. And we're always tuning,
you're unlocking new lines.
Yeah, and it was funny. So my son can be kind of a jerk, like passive aggressive, like not on purpose. It's funny. So one of the guys had a new chassis. I don't want to say, but it was the prototype, and he built it. Looked really nice. It looks like kind of like a poised front and this. So maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, it's not poised. But anyway, I mean, it did fine. But so there was a couple of lines, and so my son showing him the lines, and he was fighting with the lines, trying, and then he's like, well, mine doesn't have 4-wheel steer, on this line. So my son goes back and he does it without using the rear wheel steer. And so that guy's like, man. So he's sitting there another half hour. He still can't hit it. And then he goes off. So the three of them go off, and my son's showing him other lines, and he comes back down. He's like, your son broke my rig, because he couldn't hit the line. It wasn't major, but he was joking. He was joking too. But,
but that's another thing with 4-wheel steer. It could either make the rig really good, or it could throw you off.
No, for sure.
It's like there's times
driver. It also has to do with the driver also.
Yeah, but there's times where I still haven't built a rig with 4-wheel steer.
Same.
But I've driven some, and I'm like, okay, I can see the potential there. But to me, I still refuse to build one until I'm ready, because I know it's gonna ruin me. It's gonna ruin me from going back to a regular, drag rear. So I'm holding off, but eventually I'm gonna get down on the 4-wheel steer. But till then, I'm gonna try to push the rig as hard as I can.
At one point, I think I had 10 24s, and then I had the 2 PBXs, all 4-wheel steer. I had no drag axle rigs, 0. And then we had a class 2 count, which is no 4-wheel steer allowed. So I had to make it. So I have a few now, but I had to make them.
You can lock them out, right? You don't have to use it.
Yeah. So how I got into the 4-wheel steers, that first comp that I came in second, I'm following the other guy through the gates. It was kind of a head-to-head thing, and I kept thinking, he's going to hit the gate, and then he rear steers around it. I'm like, that cheating bastard, So so that's why. So the first mod I did, a big mod I did, was I put 4-wheel steer on the FCX, and for both of us, and from then it was like everything. I wanted 4-wheel steer. But you're right. If you're turning the wrong way uphill, it can roll you off. So there are things that it's not good. It's heavier on the rear, so it was really hard for me to get the weight bias up, on the PBXs, to even get it there. I have the brass third member. The wheels we have, they didn't have the brass rings for, but I put the stick-on wheel weights, and it took a lot. Brass hubs. So it took quite a bit of work to get it to that weight bias, but it made a big difference from 60 to 65. Just the climbing ability, it made a big difference. But yeah, I'm spoiled. We have some comps here that don't allow the 4-wheel steer, and it's hard for me. I'm so spoiled.
That's why I avoid it. I don't want to get used to it.
What radio?
That's right. It is kind of cheating. But so
what radio do you use for 4-wheel steer?
What is that?
What radio do you use for 4-wheel steer?
So I have the GT5, and so cool thing, RC, they made this he sells this kit. It's $25. It comes with the potentiometer and then the knob and some wires. And so basically, you have to open it up. You cut out the channel 5 knob, and then you solder the 3 wires from the channel 5. You tape it down and you solder it to the potentiometer. You drill a hole, and he gives you a template, paper template, so you can place the hole, and then you just stick it through, hot glue it in, put it on, and yeah, so you can.
Wow.
So to me, it's very, and this is the main reason I got the GT5, was because I saw that he had this, and
that mod.
Yeah, there are a couple other radios that can do it.
Too.
What's that?
I say it's really convenient because it's right there by your thumb,
so you
can just be throttling it and just
exactly.
And that's a lot of the time. That's the issue that I had. That like you're steering, and then now you got like this other, like you're throwing up gang signs when you're driving.
So there's people that have the thumb thing, so they can steer the big wheel with the thumb, and then they grab the top channel 6, kind of thing. But I'm not that coordinated, so I like, I like this idea, and so I think I've done it for 5 or 6 guys locally as well. They're like, so they order it, and I was like, I'll say just $25 labor. It takes me like an hour and a half to do it, but I don't, I just want to make something. And I was joking with them. It's like, well, I figured I can, as long as I make 3 and don't screw it up, that'll pay for a radio if I screw one up.
Oh,
there you go.
You know what I mean? So, and actually, sadly, I did one for my friend, but I think the radio was just old. I still have it, and I screwed it up. But I was like, don't worry, I have another one. So I gave him my spare, which was new. I just had a spare, and I bought another one too. I'm gonna take it to Proline just in case one of our radios craps out. So we have that. But it's not difficult. It's not difficult to do. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people out here use the NB4.
Yeah,
the Noble 4.
So I think there is a mod for the Noble 4, but I am not. The GT5 is super easy. I mean, like the Noble, I would probably break it. I'm not comfortable. And they even for the Radio Link, whatever, they have one for that one, but that one looks difficult as well. So he does have it for a couple. I know my limitations. So the GT5, I've done about 10 of them so far. So 6 for the guys locally and 4 for us. Yeah. And it wasn't too difficult. So I was watching, and he has the videos on how to do it. So I was watching the videos. I'm like, it's not bad, to do. So.
Right. So Proline by the Fire, are you excited for that?
Oh, super, super excited. I mean, just to meet you guys and crawl with you guys, and see all the lines, the lines there. My son too. I haven't really. I think I took my son on a vacation. Me and the mom are not together, unfortunately, and financially, I wasn't able to really take him on any trips. The last one we went, I took him. He was like 4 years old, and so we haven't really gone on any trips. And he really likes the RC, and so he heard about Proline. All you guys going? I'm like, okay. So I got to take him out of school a couple of days because we're going early. But I was like,
nice.
So
he's gonna like.
Yeah,
that.
I think it'll be nice. We're really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Are you coming here directly, or you're gonna come down there?
What is that?
When you fly in, you're gonna fly in to the Bay, or you're gonna go to LA?
So we fly into LAX, and then I think we're gonna rent a car and drive over. We rented an RV, and they're supposed to deliver it there. And what's this? A Hardline Killers, Jerry Ramirez.
Yeah.
Ramirez. So he's supposed to be there from Wednesday, because the vendors can go early, and so he's gonna meet the RV guy Thursday morning. And so we're gonna park there. I didn't know where to park, and I mean, people are dropping pins, but I'm not familiar. So I figured if Jerry can meet him there, and there's park there, and there's about 10 other Hawaii people going as well. And so they're some of them are sharing the RV with Jerry as well. So we'll be all together. So hopefully it's not too far from you guys. So
yeah,
there you go.
Going back to scale rigs, I know there's a lot of guys out there run Leafs, right? And like hard bodies.
Yeah. So they have competitions, comps that is leaf spring only. They just had one with his partner as 3 rigs, and you could help winch each other or whatever. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't make that one. I don't have a leafer anyway. But and then another guy who builds a lot of rigs, he is going to have a competition for leafers, like a performance leafer comp. I don't know, something like that.
Okay.
But then normally,
I see a lot of videos.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I'll just say normally it's just class 1 or class 2. It doesn't necessarily have to be leafer, but it's all the scale points. And so actually the reason I built the full rail was to participate in the class 2 comps here. So
okay.
But that whole scale point stuff, it's like hard body and squares, and I don't get it. And I'm so busy. I watched that darn video like 3 times. Let's square whatever, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah. So the guys running the C2 class, are they Sorka? Oh,
not really. So that's their base. So they wanted to make it where if any of the guys go to the mainland, their rigs would fall into that rule set, though. You know what I mean? So they didn't want to deviate too much from the Sorka rule set because they wanted, when they travel, to not have to make adjustments. So they do kind of follow.
Yeah, because what I've seen people do, they stay, like, just like your reaction was like, I didn't want to deal with that. I think a lot of things that people should consider is when they're doing like a class 2 is maybe to have it more inviting to people. Drop some of those crazy like rules about the bumper clearance or whatever. Just have us like a platform, and then we've seen that out here when we do runs where we're just kind of freely, just like, hey, it's a C2 kind of style. Just got to have, like, it doesn't have to be a hard body, but we're not very like strict on the rules. That way, it's inviting for everybody to come out and have the similar style rigs, and it's fun. No one's gonna be like, oh, dude, that guy's got like some extra clearance than I do.
Some basic rules like this size tires, we're running this size body,
I agree,
rails or C channel or just something simple. So more people come, more people want to try.
It's fun. People have a good time. No one's angry that someone outperformed anyone else's. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, there's even C-Rail comps
stock.
Pretty much stock.
C-Rail competitions.
And those are fun. Those
are fun to watch because it's stuff that we never thought, a stock one can do, and they're doing it out there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wish it was that way. So my friend Ralph, he bought a PBX, and he also has the Dragon. And so the Nordic Dragon, it's high skid angle. It does really well as well. So he was thinking his Nordic Dragon is going to be the class 3, and he's going to build the PBX as a class 2. So that's what he, his initial thoughts were. And he doesn't get to crawl very often. He's a kid and other half and that kind of stuff. So, but he wants to throw his own class 2, which basically you need a body, wheelbase max, tire max size, rupture, but very loose rules, no 4-wheel steer, and I think that'll be better. There's people like, well, you can point out with a Lexan body, but I was like, I don't even know. And there's another guy that's going to do a class 2, but he's like, okay, you need 6 accessories and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, forget it. I'm not going to that one. It's like too much already.
I mean, you can always do magnets. So if you ever want to like just run like accessories that you want to just take off after the fact, you just put them on little magnets and you can take them right off afterwards.
That's smart.
Yeah, I mean, just saying, like, if okay, fine, here's my 6 accessories. Just put little magnets on there. Boom, go and do your thing. Or it could be like interior. Like, I think there's like fire extinguishers or like little details that you can just throw in interior and you're done with it. An antenna, and it doesn't weigh much. Little cheat codes like that.
So I need to. Because I bought a nice fiberglass body, a very expensive, nice fiberglass body. Is it?
From no, TNT. No! Yeah, I remember seeing that.
So it was through.
Who made that one?
Tom Higgins. He's having it made at TNT. And so
I never saw he released a bug.
It was it went quick.
Bus body.
Yeah. So
no shit.
I haven't mounted it. I don't want to drill holes. I don't know what to do. So I'm gonna
No,
try to
remember? Oh,
Velcro it.
I think yeah, Velcro's good. What else did we
I don't
use?
know.
I
I
mean,
wanted to
Velcro's
put it
good,
on
or you
like,
can do
Glue and
magnets too,
magnets.
yeah,
like they do for
I
like the
think
RC drift
so. I was
bodies.
thinking about putting it on this flat rail. I mean, the full rail, you know.
Uh huh.
But
That looks
with the
dope.
steering, the super shafty steering, it hits the front of the cab, you know. So I got to put the cab further back, so because it
Oh.
was hitting the cab pretty hard. So I got to mount it
Uh
further
huh.
back, I think. But anyway, so I haven't really been focused on that. My friend gave me another hard body, and I was trying to pinch the front, and I messed up on the cuts on one, so I'm just it's sitting there. I don't know how to fix it. So
Well, the
yeah.
thing, okay, so the cool thing about hard bodies is like they don't have to be perfect. So I used to worry about my paint and all this stuff, but what happens is when you do mistakes like that, it actually works in your favor. You want to do like a patina look, or if it's like a damage
Oh
to the actual body. So where on that cut that you messed up on, it might be a little off. Just
yeah.
take a heat gun to it and like push it in with a rock, and it takes the shape of it and looks like it's just a damaged panel.
Okay,
So
that's
that in a
interesting.
sense, you hide your mistake,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah.
But it helps.
But it helps. But it gives you that that
That
look.
realistic.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so I need to work on that. So I have the full rail for that, and then I have the cots as well. And so Eric was driving it when he was here, and I was just like, I'm so spoiled with the way the PBX performs with, just the flex and everything.
That slight give. Yeah.
Yeah, that the cots, it does really well, but it seems so stiff. I don't know. It's
Well,
different.
the thing is, because you're so used to your pork bellies, and that's the
Yeah,
thing that you get
yeah.
used to that small, even if it's a little bit, that small
It
flex.
makes a
It's
difference.
very yeah,
Yeah. So my friend Ralph, who
it's
bought
very
the PBX
forgiving.
for the class 2, last weekend we were testing lines for his comp, trying to help set some lines
Hmm.
that tone it down a little bit, so people can actually complete the lines. And so I was testing with my full rail, but his wheelbase is 13.5 right now. And so my full rail was hitting lines that his PBX wasn't able to hit. And so I forgot it was PBX because
Huh.
he had a body. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's a PBX. Let's look at this thing. And so I had him adjust shock position on the front and this, and then the rear was too much. We immediately was doing better. And then so he's making a couple more adjustments on it. But
Hmm.
so he stayed longer. We had to leave. And he's like, dude, this thing is doing better than the Dragon now. I was like,
Oh
and
wow.
I know, so I
Yeah,
have
it's
the
just
Dragon
slight
as well.
adjustments. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing that it's we like I said we came we say it's a tuner chassis, and people sometimes don't comprehend like, well, how are you going to tune your chassis? I'm like, well, it all comes to play because now you're tuning braces, you're tuning
Shock
your
Yep.
position.
shocks. So any little adjustments you can just adjust a little bit more give, or if you're more, it also depends on the style of your driving. So
Right.
if you're more used to like a rigid chassis, you can
Yeah.
stiffen up the pork belly and have that same feel, and then you can slowly start backing out of those braces and then getting a little bit more flex. And then once you get used to that, bring them down even more and get a little bit more flex. And so then you can do it in different stages. And so I think that's what sometimes gives you that little bit of extra edge is having that
Yeah.
tunability.
I agree. Because I had the Nordic Dragon as well. And it did really well. The breakover is amazing, right? So it did really well. But that was something I noticed about it on some of the side more twisty lines. It was stiffer, and the pork belly would walk it, and the Nordic was having a little more trouble for those.
What
And
it will float the front end.
yeah, and then it would tend to roll more, and roll off
Mm.
the line more, versus the pork belly seems to stay more planted with the rear flexing and that kind of thing. But
You can grind it. You can have the rig kind of bounce on the line until it catches.
yeah, versus the
Eric
the
does
other
that a
stiff.
lot
So
actually on his style driving.
and then I didn't really tune the cots much, so I built it, but I hadn't had a chance to tune it. But compared the cots with the Nordic Dragon, the Nordic Dragon did better in general. But I sold the Nordic Dragon because putting a body on it for a class 2 with that skid, it just didn't work out well. the body would hang low, and you kind of lose the advantage of the skid. Where the COTS is easier, with the way the rail is designed. So I kept that one.
God.
But debating on swapping it out now. I just not real happy with it. But anyway, it does good in certain, with the breakover, certain things, of course. But it's just different. And then so after I helped Ralph tune his PBX, so he stayed longer and he was driving his Dragon. And he was like, the PBX was hitting lines easier than the Dragon was. So he's like, and then he wanted the carrier. So Eric just sent me, we just picked up these rails for him, that has a hole, right, for the carrier.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because he got the new rails that didn't have the hole. And so, so I was like, oh, your rails are in. And he's like, oh, maybe I should just build another one. And keep it. And I was like, it's up to you. I was up to you,
dude. And that's the thing.
Yeah. That's happens. Always
like,
how it
you'll
goes.
like want to build something. You're like, oh, well, I might as well just keep that one and just start a fresh build.
I know, and I'm the same way. That's why I have that many 24s and then some,
right? Yeah, I was gonna say.
You got any 24?
I really should sell some because a lot of them don't get driven. But I'm like, I can't bring with anyway. So anyway, but he was like, maybe I'll swap the Nordic out, or maybe I'll swap the Nordic out. I'm sorry, his Dragon out and sell the Dragon. And I was like, well, it's up to you. It's just different, right? It's not that one's necessarily better than the other. It's just what you're used to. It's just different, So he's like, all right, for now, he'll swap the PBX and he'll debate on that one. But he was at the point where he was like, I think I'm just going to sell the Dragon and swap the parts, sell the rails and swap the parts, kind of thing. So, which is good too, But I said, maybe just keep it for now because it does do well. It's just different, right? So, but his text was like, see what you did. Now I'm a total, RES PBX fanboy now. I was like, I get it. That's us.
No, they're fun. They're fun rigs.
They are, yeah.
They're fun rigs, man.
So, but so kind of getting back to the comp, and so the most recent comp we threw, right? And so the last comp, I ran at the end just to play, and then my wheel fell off at gate like 6 or something. Just I don't know. So I just
wheel
stopped.
Fell off.
Yeah. So what I've been doing was I've been experimenting with hubs, different hub widths, and so sometimes I put in only one screw in the hub just to see the width, and I think I forgot to put in the rest of the screws. So the wheel
so
fell
the wheel
off
came
the
off
hub.
with the hub, or like everything came off.
Well, the hub was still there. Like the wheel fell off.
Center.
Yeah.
And then I was remembering.
That sounds about right. You probably only had 1 or 2 screws
in
there.
I think it was 1. Yeah. So then I was like, so I just stopped. So my friend was giving me crap that I didn't even complete my own lines at my own comp, right? But so this last joking. So this last one, I had my son run. So I let them practice because I know the lines are hard, and I was like, I want them to be able to complete the lines. I felt really bad keeping the score, and it was fail. They're failing twice every line. I felt really bad. And everybody's thinking these lines are impossible. So I showed them that the lines are not impossible. They're difficult, but they're not impossible. So this one, I had my son run first and had everybody watch him so they could see that the lines are possible and kind of how he hits it. Which, they might not be able to hit it the same way, but I really wanted people to have more success on the lines, and just if they're a better driver, they'll hit it faster. And that's the lowest time wins, that kind of thing, right? And still, everybody struggled, majority struggled. Like I said, the winner only completed 4 lines. Then I went last, and I completed 7 out of the 8. And the one is that with the 4-wheel steer was the killer side hill that I failed a couple of times, So, but I hit 7 out of the 8. And pretty easily. And so one of my friends has he bought the thumper, the Poise thumper, but he hasn't tuned it. So he built it, didn't really tune it much. And so
he ran it.
Yeah. So, being on the rocks on those extreme lines was the first time he was on that extreme line. So he was struggling with the vertical and stuff. And then he saw mine. He's like, man, you made that look easy. I'm like, so I was joking because he did really good at the other comp. The lines aren't difficult. It's more like a rock race. The lines aren't too difficult, and it's not that vertical. And I'm not a fast driver, apparently. I'm a technical driver, not a fast driver. So I didn't do that well. So I joked with him. I said, I have a good car, bad driver. And that's what I mean. It's like the car performs really well, but I don't. I'm not a fast driver. Through a course. I don't have that experience. So. And so now, so at the end of it, I was asking, should I make the lines easier? What do you guys think? I feel bad people failing lines. And my intention was not to discourage people. My intention was to show that your rigs can do more. So let's try to up the level. So I mean, you could be great here and you go to the mainland and it's like you're not even hitting the lines, right? At these other comps. So my intention was to increase the performance of the cars, everybody, and show them it is possible, and let's tune it. And, so even there, I'm trying, okay, well, maybe it's your shock position. Maybe it's this, what's your weight bias, so just trying, and not like I'm the pro, but, if I can, whatever I can do to share my knowledge and how my rigs are able to hit those lines,
I
I
think
want to do.
that's healthy, because what that creates is that drive, like, oh shit, like I want to go back to that comp and I want to do it now. So that tends to, have that
motivation.
But yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
motivation to come back, rebuild your rig and make it better.
And
So I
that's
think,
what I was hoping, and
having
that's
hard
kind of how
courses
we
is
got
healthy.
our PBXs to be that way. That spot where we have the comp, me and my son go there all the time. That's like our home field advantage. So that's another reason, we want to compete. I always tell people, we're not going to win the prizes, but we just want the pressure and see how we stack up, right? And the lines that we select are not lines that we're running all the time. Like we hit it, like, okay, we want to make sure it's doable, that it is possible.
Right.
And, it's not like we practice on it, months and months. But, but I was like, okay, it's not fair because that's our home course, right? So,
Right.
but that's how we did. It's like, okay, we couldn't hit this line. Okay, maybe if we do this, oh, now we can hit that line. And so we're familiar with some of those crazy lines. It's like, okay, if we make an adjustment and it does better or worse on that line, now we know, okay, maybe that wasn't good or was good, type of thing. So, that's also our testing ground. But, that was my goal as well. And that's what, my friend with the thumper, he said, no, don't make it easier. I'm coming back. I want my revenge. I was like, great.
Exactly.
And
That was the point that I was trying
goal,
to
right?
put across earlier. Yeah, no, I think that's more than fair.
And one of the other guys, he also had, so he also bought the T3, just the new rails, not the thumper one.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was at the comp as well. And similarly, the vertical wasn't as good. His front shocks were too big, and he kind of knew it, but he didn't have it. So last weekend he came out again, just to play, and he was able to hit more lines. I'd say over half the lines that he wasn't able to. And that's what I wanted, right? Is to have people come out and be able to hit half the lines at least. That was my goal, and at least be able to hit half the lines. And the ones they couldn't hit, they would have to tune for, or if they wanted to or not. But and that's how they'd be able to tell if the performance was getting better or not. Is by okay, I made these adjustments. Did it help or not? Right. But that's how over the past year, that's all I've been doing. And my son, he's like, it's junk now, Dad. What did you do? Like, okay. Okay. I was like, okay, I switched this, I'll switch it back. But that's how it's been, right? Okay. But it's even shocks and shock oil. I run, my son's has the drab tex, mine is desert lizards. And the guys here and a lot of people online, they're really anti-desert lizards. I don't know why they get such a bad rap. It's funny. And one guy here,
I think you reached out to me when you first started building it too. I remember.
That's right.
You were trying to. I was trying to walk you through them. It's like it took me almost man. I want to say like 2 weeks to tune a set of desert lizards, and it's just because I'm picky with my shocks. But
me
it was
too.
just like trying. There's so many options. It's like, oh man, I didn't work. So, and it's a pain in the ass to take those apart and rebuild them because it's dual spring.
Yeah.
So you're like, shit, like that didn't work, and that didn't work, and that didn't work until you find like that soft, like medium feel to them, and then you run them. But I think that's one of the reasons why it's off-putting, because there's a lot of tuning in those.
Yeah. I mean, just shocks in general. And if you ever post online and you want to start a whole thing, just post something about shocks. I mean, it's like I run shock with bands. Oh my God, you don't know how to tune. I mean, it's just like people are so mean. And so I asked the question. I'm like, okay, I want to learn how to tune shocks. Is there some video or something where I can learn? And there was no reply. I mean, the reply was, well, you just have to experiment. But I'm like, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm like, should I go, stiffer spring, and I think a lot of the guys that are very critical of people who run bands, they're not running these extreme vertical lines. because I don't care how soft your springs are. You get to a certain point, it's going to unload. But if you're doing these kind of angles, it won't unload, and you'll be okay. But even my son, he'll try some of the extreme lines. So we have the bands, so take it off, he'll put it on. Sometimes the bands help because it allows it to drop out more for the pullover. But sometimes he needs it to stay in because it's falling off, right? So it depends. But so it's been, learning, okay, should we go thicker, heavier oil in the front and this. And so, that's been a whole nother, thing about trying to experiment with. And the most recent thing I did, was it on mine? I think I put the 5,000 diff fluid in my Desert Lizards, in my Joker.
Oh, shit. Damn. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's actually, I like it. So I tried 80.
Really?
Yeah, I like it. And it's still, where is it? So I don't know if you can. So it's still, I mean, it's slower, but it's still, it still moves, right? And so with the flex of the PBX chassis, what I noticed was, so with that comp with the boulders, we couldn't go head on. We had to go at an angle, right, to get the tire on it. But then the front would flip, and then the rear, it doesn't hold, so it's flexible. So with a stiff chassis, you can like float it up more.
Yeah.
So with ours, it wasn't really floating, and so the front would fall and it would roll. So we're having issues with that. So I wanted thicker oil to kind of slow that down, and it does. But it's not. Oh, did we lose you? Okay, you're back.
No. Okay,
are we good?
That was weird.
Yeah.
Are we good?
So anyway. So for that one, I experimented. I'm like, well, worst case, I can always change it out. So I filled it up like normal too, like a little over halfway, how, and then I compressed it. It squeezed out the extra, made sure it compresses all the way, kind of thing. I'm just running the medium length short soft spring under the plunger to pull it down, and the shortest soft spring on top to so it has a little bit. A little sprung to it, but it's working good, and then for my sons, I put 80 weight in the front. I went from 60 to 80, and what I noticed on the drabs with the 80, it would unload, when it does unload, it's harder to come back down, but it's starting to work in now, so it's better now. But when I first put it in, it would unload and kind of just stay unloaded. So we're using the bands. Yeah. So the bands were better, but it's getting better now. I think it's working in a little bit. So now it does kind of come back down. So
and I've noticed that sometimes with drafts too, that after a while, like when you first build them, they're a little sticky, but it's like breaking them in. And then after that little ring gets kind of broken into, gets a little bit of grease in there, like the green slime, then you'll be like really smooth.
Yeah.
So it's like anything else. It's like new tires. You break them in. At first they're pretty crappy, and then you break in tires, and you're good to go.
Yeah. So I asked him if he likes it, and he's like, "Yeah, let's just leave it for now. It seems to be working okay." But I mean, that's basically what we've been doing. Is even with the 24s, it's like, okay, can we hit this line? And can't hit it. Okay, now we can hit it. So you keep making tweaks. Like move it a hole back or hole up or hole down or that type of thing, and. So that's how, I mean, they're doing really good, and it's shown me that compared to the other top guys that our rigs are at the top, maybe not the best, but it's definitely, from what I've seen, we're definitely hitting lines that other rigs cannot hit, which is, it's always nice, to see that we are doing.
Yeah, but you put in the work, so you put in the tuning time and all that stuff to make them, because realistically, dude, you build a rig, you take it out to the rocks, it's going to run like shit.
Yeah.
It takes a couple weeks, to make adjustments and try new things. And then after a while, it realistically takes about a month or a few packs and you'll get the feel for it. But it's like anything else, you just got to make your subtle adjustments to your driving,
get comfortable with the rig after
pretty much.
Yeah. I got a couple questions I want to run by you.
Yeah.
It's pick one and go with it. You want to do it the same?
No, good.
Sure.
Yep.
All right.
I'm illiterate, bro. I can't read. I flunked the third grade. So go ahead.
All right. So, brushed or brushless?
Brushless.
Servo on axle, servo on chassis.
Servo and axle.
Straight axle, portal axle.
Definitely portals.
Hard body, Lexan.
Lexan. You know, I'm one of those performance over everything, so I'd rather run the cage.
The cage. Yeah.
We should do cage or Lexan.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
3S or 4S?
Gotta go 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
1.9 or 2.2?
I like the 2.2s. My son's on 1.9s, but I'm definitely liking the 2.2s.
Okay. And then gates or trail?
What is that?
Gates or trail?
Oh, gates all day.
Gates.
Yeah.
110 or 124?
110.
This is
I
gonna be a
mean,
hard one for him.
my
What?
124s hardly get any love. I mean, you know, they're there,
Oh.
but
Do you got
definitely-
any 24 pork bellies?
What is that?
24 pork bellies?
Oh yeah. So this is on straight axle,
nice.
Super 8s. And then this is on, so these are Super 8s, but they have the old portal. LGRP had portals a long time ago. They don't
What?
make them anymore.
Oh, shit.
But what I did, they were too narrow. So I swapped the portals onto the Super 8 housing to make it really wide. And then I had to
So it's like
change.
the Capra version.
So then I had to change the CVDs. So I had to take them apart and put because they weren't long enough. So I put the Super 8 and I connected it to the portal end of the CVD. You know, so it fits.
Oh,
You don't have no modification. You just you take off the outer ring, pull the pin. You take the longer Super 8, you put it on the portal, you put the pin back in.
Oh,
So
you
it
just changed
actually
the
worked
pin.
on-
Yeah, the head.
Yeah, you just change.
Yeah, because
so,
it's got a longer shaft
Oh.
on it. Okay, I see what exactly you did.
Yeah.
That's
Huh.
cool.
So the rear I had to leave narrow because they're molded into the housing. So I had to use wider hubs on the back and narrower hubs on the front, so it wasn't too crazy. But this thing does amazing. I mean, both of them do amazing, but the portals I like better with the clearance. So I just
never
ordered.
noticed, on your videos, I never noticed there were portals.
Yeah, you can't really tell, but this one, yeah. So
No. That's
hard to
wild,
see.
dude. And it doesn't look, from the video, it doesn't look like it gets caught up on a lot either.
Yeah,
Those are
so
pretty.
there is a big difference. So this one, just with the straight, it is different. And so my son likes driving this one because and it's a little longer too. So he's always like, "Come on, Dad."
there you go.
Like, so,
Yeah.
All right.
so I did
next
buy.
question.
I just ordered a couple sets of the Mias plus 11 portals for the 24. So I'm gonna swap out the Rasta one. I'm gonna swap this one for the portals. And I think I'm going to put one of the new Echo I have on Portal. So I was supposed to swap this guy out. So I mean, if you run the big tires, big wheels and tires,
That's pretty much, yeah. You
you don't
don't
really need it.
Yeah.
But I just want to try it. And the intent. So he built these new rails that was made for the carrier. Although I made it work. I drilled my own hole and made it work. And so I was just going to swap this over to the new rails, but similar to Ralph, I'm like, maybe I'll just build another one. So I'm building another one instead. Yeah, so, which is how I end up with that many. But so I have the rails, so I'm waiting for the axles to come in. But it's plus 11 portals, so we'll see how those go. But so definitely love the portals. Yeah.
Nice. I haven't seen much 24 portals. Next question: dig or 2-speed?
I don't have either actually, and I think with the brushless, we don't. You know, with the 4S brushless, I'm running 1850, and that I don't really need the 2-speed. I think it's enough. Yeah. So I guess if I had to choose, I would probably choose dig.
Okay.
Yeah.
3-pin servo or direct power servo?
I like the direct power.
Cool. And then we kind of know this one: scale crawlers or extreme crawlers?
Yeah, extreme.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Someone you would recommend that you'd want to see on the show next?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good one. I don't know. I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not even sure what the other podcast people you have to. Like, I didn't even know you did a podcast.
Well, just
sorry.
anyone. I mean,
Anybody you would like to see on there. It doesn't even have to be someone that we know. It could be someone we don't know. We could reach out. Someone that you've seen on YouTube.
he's gonna just be like, pass. Next question.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to pass on that.
That's
Like, I
fine.
really
That's
don't
fine.
know.
It's all good.
No
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Cool.
Well, we appreciate you being on the show, man. Taking the time out of your busy day.
Yeah.
And how's it looking out there right now? Is it nice?
Was that?
Is it?
How's the weather out there right now?
Oh, it was a little
Didn't
rainy
really-
today, but not too bad. You know, just little drizzles.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's
'cause,
tough out
everybody
here. I
always
think
thinks Hawaii looks like paradise all the
80s,
time.
you know, it's sunny most of the time.
Comfortable.
When it gets to the 70s, we're cold. You know, when it gets to the high 80s, we're hot. You know, so it's rough.
No,
Very
that's cool, though.
consistent all year round here. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Very nice
definitely
out
have to have like a pork belly team trip out to Hawaii.
I'm down.
That'd be
That would be
awesome.
dope.
That'd be a good excuse.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna take a team trip out there.
Yeah, right. Cool. Well, again, we appreciate you being on the show.
No,
Yeah.
thank
All
you.
right, man. Well, we'll be in touch, and then we'll see you at ProLiner when you're in the area. All right. Then. Yep.
Awesome. All right.
All right, then, brother.
Thank you.
Later.
Thank you guys for everything. You guys have been joining us for our podcast. This has been an awesome podcast for our first time, actually.
Yeah, first season.
RC Crawlers and Coffee, first season. Thank you guys for joining us. This is amazing. We didn't know how this was going to go, but apparently really good.
Yeah. So it is the first season, and unfortunately, it's going to be the last. We're going to be starting something new. So Crawlers and Coffees, this is going to be the last episode. But that doesn't mean we're not doing this anymore. We're just venturing out to new platforms on the RC community. So
something bigger, better, new.
Yeah.
Definitely more people involved with this. So it's just something more exciting for us. We're excited for a new horizon.
Yep. Just stay tuned, and we continue doing what we're doing. It's just it'll be a little different. We're gonna have a little,
Yeah, we're gonna have more fun. Just
Yeah.
stay tuned and follow us.
Right on,
Thank you
guys.
guys for the support.
Thank
Later.
you.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of RC Cars and Coffee. Did you get the trailer you're aching for? If so, join us next time for more RC wisdom and pro tips. Till then, happy crawling!
That felt better.
Okay.
Cool. I'll make it. Chinga su madre. That's the magical order.